Is 3I-Atlas more than just a comet? The mysterious object is currently hurtling toward the inner solar system at an insane speed of more than 200,000 kilometers per hour. But even though the interstellar visitor was recently examined in detail by the Hubble Space Telescope, it still holds enormous mysteries for astronomers. And where there are big question marks, Harvard Professor A.V.I. steps in because the astrophysicist has put forward the sensational theory that 3I-Atlas could be an extraterrestrial spacecraft. But what leads Loeb to this outlandish assumption? Is there really a highly advanced alien species visiting our home world? And what have the latest observations from the Hubble telescope revealed? Stay tuned until the end and find out with us. It all began on July 1st when a telescope belonging to the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Loss Alert System, ATLAS for short, sounded the alarm and identified a conspicuous object shimmering in the shadow of Jupiter at a distance of approximately 670 million kilometers. To everyone's relief, however, experts determined that it was not an asteroid that could pose a threat to Earth. At the same time, however, the object did not turn out to be an ordinary comet, but an absolute space sensation. Just a few hours after its discovery, it became clear that this mysterious object did not even originate from our solar system. Its trajectory was too steep and its speed too high. Experts realized that they had just caught an interstellar visitor in their net. This is incredibly rare. After all, it's only the third celestial body observed that has been proven not to originate from our home world. Christened 3I-Atlas, the object joins an extremely short list that previously only included Oumuamua and 2I Borisov. The crucial question, however, was what exactly had entered the solar system? And a quick look back shows that this seemingly simple question can sometimes lead to astonishing conclusions. In the case of 2I Borisov, however, the matter was clear because the intruder discovered in 2019 could be clearly identified as an interstellar comet. Oumuamua, on the other hand, was much more mysterious, and to this day, we cannot say with absolute certainty what the first visitor of 2017 really was. What we do know, however, is that the object exhibited a number of confusing characteristics that have fueled the wildest speculation ever since. Oumuamua had neither a tail nor a coma typical of comets. But that wasn't even the strangest thing. Analysis revealed that the object appeared to accelerate as it moved away from the sun. In other words, it flew slightly faster than the pure influence of gravity would have allowed against this unexpected backdrop. Renowned Harvard Professor A.V.I. gave free rein to his unconventional thoughts and came to the conclusion that Oumuamua exhibits exactly the characteristics one would expect from an artificial solar sail. Today, however, a slightly different explanation is considered more likely. On the one hand, the radio telescope at the Green Bank Observatory was unable to detect any signs of artificial origin from Oumuamua. And on the other hand, researchers have discovered that the strange behavior can also be explained by a comet that formed a tail of invisible hydrogen gas, which gave it an additional boost in speed. So what about 3I-Atlas? Well, that depends on who you ask, of course. But most experts agree that we are dealing with a purely natural object. However, this is not just any natural object. It is the fastest object in the entire solar system. More precisely, 3I-Atlas is considered an extremely fast comet. As the celestial body sweeps through our planetary system on a hyperbolic trajectory and will pass its closest point to the Sun in October, initial observations have already provided evidence of a shell and a tail of ejected gases and dust. Now, however, the Hubble Space Telescope has turned its gaze on the interstellar visitor and provided us with the sharpest images of 3I-Atlas to date. These show the object on July 21st when it was just under 450 million kilometers away from us, roughly halfway between Jupiter and Mars. In the process, experts were also able to determine the speed of the chunk more accurately than ever before, and measure that it's heading toward the inner solar system at more than 200,000 kilometers per hour. Not only is that 160 times faster than a bullet, but it also makes 3I-Atlas the fastest object ever observed in the solar system. Experts explain that the unusually high speed indicates that 3I-Atlas has repeatedly gained momentum from close passages near other stars or gas nebula. This circumstance also supports the assumption that the interstellar visitor is significantly older than the solar system, and already has more than 7 billion years under its belt. However, the origins of this cosmic Methuselah remain unknown. David Jewett from the University of California in Los Angeles says it's moving so fast and we've only seen it for such a short time. It's like a bullet flying past us in a thousandth of a second. We therefore can't trace back precisely where the object began its journey. However, scientists are not completely in the dark. The Hubble images have provided important new information about the size and activity of 3I-Atlas. Measurements of the coma or dust shell show that the core hidden within could be up to 5.6 kilometers in size. This would make 3I-Atlas significantly more impressive than its two predecessors. While the core of 2I Borisov was 0.4 kilometers in size, that of Oumuamua measured just 0.1 kilometers. Astronomers suspect that the true size of our new guess is more likely to be at the lower end of their estimates. And yet, it could still top the size chart of the three interstellar visitors. Apart from that, the Hubble images also confirm that 3I-Atlas is already active and showing comet-like outgassing. Experts explain, we can confidently interpret its visible coma as scattering of ejected dust. This dust tends to spread toward the sun in a broad plume or fan. This dust is carried along by the outgassing of ice and other volatile substances. Unlike many comets in our solar system, however, 3I-Atlas does not have a narrow tail, but rather a broad diffuse plume like the one left behind after a night at the pub. And according to the researchers, this is only logical. A narrow, clearly defined tail is created by larger and slower particles. 3I-Atlas, on the other hand, appears to eject large quantities of smaller particles. In detail, it's likely to lose around 6 to 60 kilograms of dust per second. This is compounded by the outgassing of water ice, carbon dioxide, and carbon monoxide ice. Unfortunately, these gases envelop the object in an impenetrable veil, making it impossible to determine its exact shape. Even the Hubble telescope was unable to reveal it due to the dense shell of dust and gas. David Jewett's team states that we therefore cannot say whether 3I-Atlas is almost round or elongated like the cigar-shaped Oumuamua. Is 3I-Atlas more than a comet? As a small interim conclusion, it can be said that we now have important new information about the speed and activity of 3I-Atlas. At the same time, however, it does not have a classic comet tail and its shape is unknown, and it is precisely these points that puzzle Avi Loeb in detail. However, Loeb's team published a media-effective paper a few weeks ago that deals with the question of whether 3I-Atlas could ultimately be an extraterrestrial spacecraft after all. In addition to its astonishing speed, the authors also point to its unusual orbit which runs counter to the planetary orbits and to the fact that the object comes suspiciously close to Venus, Mars, and Jupiter. Loeb and his colleagues estimate the probability of this being a pure coincidence at 0.005%. But they also emphasize that their publication should not be understood as a concrete discovery of a spaceship, but rather as an educational exercise that serves to sharpen our scientific methodology. However, Loeb did not simply leave it at this controversial paper. He went on to develop his own scale for classifying 3I-Atlas in terms of its expected background. The metric ranges from 0 to 10, from clearly natural to confirmed extraterrestrial technology, and the interstellar visitor was given a value of 6. Loeb justified his unorthodox approach by arguing that it's anti-scientific to suppress curiosity-driven questions about anomalies before enough conclusive data has been collected to answer them completely. Skeptics, however, suspect that this is not the only motivation behind Loeb's work. According to them, science is not having an easy time of it at the moment, especially in the U.S. Just recently, billions in funding were cut from numerous universities, including Harvard, and a supposed alien spaceship will be just a thing to give the research community a headline-grabbing marketing coup. Regardless of how likely the hypothesis may be at the end of the day, however, it's undisputed that many questions about 3I-Atlas remain unanswered. Astronomers hope to shed more light on the cosmic mystery in the near future. The object will remain visible to telescopes until the end of September, before it is outshone by the sun. At the beginning of December, experts will have their next opportunity to take a closer look at our interstellar visitor and learn more about it. However, this applies not only to 3I-Atlas itself, but to all celestial bodies of this kind. David Jewett says, the current interstellar tourist is just one representative of a previously unrecognized population of objects. We are only now beginning to recognize them because we now have the necessary capabilities to survey the sky. And if you have the necessary skills to click through, nothing stands in the way of your new subscription. Just press the thumbs up and subscribe to never miss a new video from us again. See you soon.